Hello, everyone. This is Mist Valley Entertainment News, and my name is Dread. I am so happy you can be here, and I'm so happy I'm here. Let me explain that. First of all, if any of you had anything on any of my YouTube channels or sites here go wonky or look funky or something just sent off weird alarm bells or something didn't seem right or you got a message from me, God help, hopefully not, on the 17th or 18th of January, of 2024, please be aware my YouTube account was hacked, as was my email account. Now, my email is that I normally use is not linked to my YouTube as such, but somehow they got both of those. I don't know how, but they locked me out of both. I didn't realize it for the first day because I wasn't in either my email, excuse me, or my YouTube channels at the time. I jumped in early morning on the 18th and discovered I was locked out of both and panicked and scrambled and made a mess of things because I had less than an hour to have coffee, have breakfast, have a shower, get my ass to work, and try to fix all that. Everything's fine. I'm back from work. I thought about it while I was working. I got my email fixed at work. Couldn't fix the YouTube till I got home. Fixed it within about 2 minutes of getting home. So I'm back, everything's fine, and I hope nothing went wrong for any of you, but I have no idea what went on during the hack, if anything, or people just tried to lock me out to fuck with me. I don't know what it was, not happy about it, but I'm back. This is why I say I'm happy to have you here, and I'm happy to be here, because there was panic like, what if they freaking erase all my channels? What if they delete all my content? What if they send nasty messages to people? Oh my god, what am I going to do? I'm back. Let's just say I'm back and hopefully remaining in charge from this time. This is my baby. I've been doing YouTube for going on almost 4 years now, leading up to what I'm doing now on this channel, which is really kind of my high point. Even though I've got, 1,300 subscribers over on my gaming channel, this is actually still the high point of what I've been doing on YouTube. And I thank you all so much because the interaction has been amazing. And 99% of you out there, or at least 98% of you, have been excellent. And I do thank you again for your views, for your subscriptions, for ringing the bell for notifications, for checking out my other channels, for checking out my Discord, for liking the videos and commenting, as long as you stay within the lines and treat everyone with respect, which most of you do. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Let's get into this. By the way, but you're going to be seeing this probably days after this all happened. I do apologize for that, but as is my schedule, I usually end up recording things a few days before they actually come out. So Legendary drops, and the link to the original video is going to be down below. Has put out a video called "I Found Proof for What Baldur's Gate 3 Had Said About Ubisoft," and I did a video on what that was about. So let's get into Legendary Drop's take on this, because I know it is going to be legendary. If you have not subscribed to Legendary Drops, if you like the way this man talks and reasons things out, which I hope many of you will, please go subscribe to his channel, drop into his comments and tell him Dread from Mist Valley Entertainment News sent you over. He's got over 34,000 subscribers. His channel has blown up lately, and well deserved. One of my favorite YouTubers as far as people who just talk about gaming stuff. He's excellent. Legendary, take it away.
There is something that these subscription services do not want you to know, and I'm going to show you that today, because many of them don't believe that it's out there, but there is observable truth to what the future of subscription services would look like if they were the dominant way that we interact with video games. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about Sven Vinke's response to the whole Ubisoft issue, but also on top of that, I'm going to bring a level of clarity that nobody else has.
Good, and you can do that.
In response to the Ubisoft exec that says gamers need to get comfortable not owning their games for subscriptions to take off, Sven Vinke writes, "Whatever the future of games looks like, content will always be king." But
that means content, as far as I see it, content is always the most important thing. And I bet you anything we're going to get here into who's in control of your content. Are you allowing somebody else to dictate what content you're going to get in games? Or if you're supporting individual studios like Larian, are you the ones who are telling the creators and the designers what you want, and they're working to make the game you want? Which do you get?
going to be a lot harder to get good content if subscriptions become the dominant model and a select group gets to decide what goes to market and what not. Direct from developer to players is the way.
I'd agree.
I'm not going to lie. I'm actually upset that I didn't realize this when I was first reading.
I just want to say I love getting involved with game designers, people who are making the game and reaching out to the public and asking for feedback and asking for you to talk to them, interview them, make suggestions, play the game demo when it comes out, play the early access when it comes out, and make suggestions on how to make the game better. And the guys and girls will actually interact with you. I love that. They don't put themselves at a level above you, even though they're obviously better game designers than you or I are, probably. But they're saying, we want to make this for you. So what do you want? What do you need? What do you see here that's not going to jive, and why? Explain it and help us to make the game better. I fucking love that.
Researching and preparing for the video that I had made yesterday, but at least somebody said it. So I want to explain this a little bit further because I don't really think it highlights exactly how troublesome this can be. No longer would it be the developer trying to impress you. It's instead the developer trying to impress the publisher, the streaming service, or the board of people that decide what content we get and we don't get.
AKA the greed board. They just want money.
And that's a real problem, because who knows what their standard is for us, what kind of content they want us to see, what kind of content they don't want us to see. We don't know what their beliefs are, what their tastes are. And because of that, we could be given content that's very purposeful in how it's presented to us. And this is something that we see observable in other countries as well, right? We have countries that actually lock down what they actually can play, how long you can play, and things like that. Well, by letting these subscription services become the dominant model in which we interact with games, we are giving the full rights of how we interact with content to those people as well. Yep. Because they're going to have full control of what content we get, when we get it, how long we get it.
That's true.
Everything. And that's not good. There's nothing good about that situation.
Nothing.
And furthermore, to make this even more an observable point, there's something that a lot of people have missed. Everybody has missed. And I'm going to show that to you right now. Back last September, Xbox documents were leaked when they were trying to acquire Activision Blizzard. It was part of the court case that they had. And in some of those documents that were leaked, there was actually their schedule for how they were trying to acquire games for Xbox Game Pass. And in that was actually Larian Studios and Baldur's Gate 3 ranked as a hub-level Game Pass acquisition, something that was ranked the same as Return to Monkey Island or Ubisoft Just Dance.
Wow.
It was not a priority game, and they didn't see it as something that would be good for them to get for Game Pass. Now you tell me, is Baldur's Gate 3 a game that would have been worthy of Game Pass? Absolutely. Of course it would have been, even though they don't actually want to be on Game Pass. Sven Vinka said as much. Mm-hmm. They expect that $60 is well worth the price to pay for the work that they did in the game that they made. And I obviously fully 100% agree with that. But there is a world in which Baldur's Gate 3 could have potentially not made it to market, or a company wouldn't have wanted to make a game like Baldur's Gate 3 because many of these subscription services wouldn't have been interesting in hosting that product on their service. Or if they would have done it for a far cheaper price than they would other products. You look at it and they ranked it the same as a game like Just Dance. Baldur's Gate 3, a game that is not only the game of the year for 2023, not only one of the most highest selling games of last year, but also for many players one of the best games of the last decade.
Yeah,
and it very well couldn't have gone to market.
Although I will say, having recently started playing Hogwarts Legacy, right this second, if you asked me to vote what's the game of the year, I would say Hogwarts Legacy, just from my first 10 hours or so in the game. A little bit more than that, I think, but yeah. Yeah, it's only a couple of days of playing, 2 days of playing that game. I find it just very, very compelling. Just sucked into that world. However, I haven't played enough Hogwarts Legacy to talk about all the different combat systems and all the other things and say how innovative this or that may or may not be. I haven't played enough of it. I've played enough of Baldur's Gate to know that when they talk about the choices that you have to do anything in the game, That's what makes Baldur's Gate 3 what it is. That and the excellent voice acting. I mean, the whole team and the whole game. But those are the things that make it the game of the year. So whether or not Hogwarts Legacy is actually a better game, I don't know. I'm just telling you, I'm enjoying the shit out of it right now.
And that's a future that we very well could be looking at. And I realize that, yes, there will be platforms for people to be able to sell their games on outside of subscription services if we did go down that road in the first place. But the resources and the desire to do that is going to become more and more scarce if subscription services become the dominant platform for video games. Yeah. And the reason why I say that is look at what happened with CDs and DVD. This is still somewhere where the two mediums can actually still be compared to each other, because many companies don't want to make their stuff go to DVD, Blu-ray, or CD or anything like that because it's too expensive to do so, and there's too small of a market that's buying that product to begin with. If subscription services become the dominant model, many of these companies are making that for the subscription service. And at the end of the day, you have, just like with Xbox, somebody that isn't the gamer that's making the decision on what is and isn't worth our time, which means the studios in tow will end up making games for them, not for us.
Yeah.
They'll make games that are going to get approved by those people, not by the gamers. That's just not a world I want to live in. Sven Vinke continues with, getting a board to okay a project fueled by idealism is almost impossible, and idealism needs room to exist, even if it can lead to disaster. Subscription models will always end up being a cost-benefit analysis.
It reminds me, even if it can lead to disaster, I just want to say I remember doing a video on risks in gaming, and it was a reaction to legendary drops talking just about that. Gaming companies willing to take risks. And he was talking about the Baldur's Gate 3 and you know, the Larian Studios and others, and how those risks paid off. But many people aren't willing to do that. They want to play it safe with the subscription type games and just put out the same content over and over and over because people will buy it. They don't want to take risks. That's an excellent video, by the way, to track down if you're interested. It's on my channel. It's one of my earlier videos, probably the first 10 or so I put out.
Needs room to exist, even if it can lead to disaster. Subscription models will always end up being a cost-benefit analysis exercise intended to maximize profit. There's nothing wrong with that, but it may not become a monopoly of subscription services. We already are all dependent on a select group of digital distribution platforms, and discoverability is brutal. Right? Should those platforms all switch to subscription, it'll become savage. In a world by definition, the preference of subscription services will determine what games get made. Trust me, you don't want that. TLDR, you won't find our games on a subscription service, even if I respect that for many developers it presents an opportunity to make their game. I don't have an issue with that. I just want to make sure that the other ecosystem doesn't die because it's valuable.
So don't let those type of subscription services choke out all the other games and all the other innovation and risk-taking and passion projects. Instead, it's like, well, what sells? Looter shooters. Let's make a looter shooter. Let's do loot drops. Let's make sure we have lots of skins for sale. Let's have seasons and stuff that we'll put out that people will pay for. Let's have every game do that. Even if you like that kind of content, it's eventually going to get boring if that's really all there is. We need games to take risks. We need the Disco Elysiums to wake us up. We need the Baldur's Gate 3s to shake our industry. We need that. Absolutely, we need that.
Sven Vinke also replied to somebody's comment saying that, I don't agree with this at all. Discoverability has always been an issue. If you're not an established IP or tie your game to a popular IP, Hogwarts Legacy, you're swimming for your life.
To a certain degree.
Just like the rest. I don't see how releasing a game at a full price would change that.
And of course, he's pointing out that, without saying it, Larian Studios, Baldur's Gate 3 is a franchise, as well as Dungeons & Dragons behind it is a franchise. Those are pretty big franchises. I get it.
Sven Vinke responded saying, the point is, in a world that's dominated by subscription models, you won't have a fighting chance. You'll have to convince/pay the management of subscription services instead of the players. In my honest opinion, That's a big set.
Yeah, that's a big setback. You have to convince the management of the subscription service, who may know nothing about games, they just know about profits, that your game should be something that they invest in and allow you to make and put out on their service. The Baldur's Gate 3 is getting made under that? Nope. You think a lot of the games that you and I like are getting made under that? Nope.
Back. Now, Sven brings up a couple really strong points here. One being that many of these studios have very few platforms to sell their games on to begin with. On PC, you have Steam, GOG, and the Epic Game Store, and for consoles, you have Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo. But outside of that, while there are some places for studios to still be able to sell games, most of those markets are going to be a little bit more niche, and as such, you're not going to see the same volume of sales off of those platforms as you will others. Just as simple as that.
Yep.
So as such, if many of those platforms switch to a subscription service, it becomes even more competitive as a result. And not competitive in a good way. It means that we will have less games given to us as a result through those subscription services if they become the more dominant way that we are interacting with games. Now, the other thing is that he brings up as well is that it's a cost-benefit analysis, which means you are going to have a really difficult time trying to sell a studio on how you want to make a AAA production-level computer RPG, a classic RPG, a turn-based RPG in 2023 release date or something like that. Because as we can see with many of the AAA studios and platforms that are out there right now, their eyes are all fixated on live service games because that's where they think the future and the money is at. You see studios that are all of a sudden switching their games.
They don't think it's the future. They think they're going to make it our future. And let's be serious here. If you like live service games, you're allowed to. That's fine. My fear is not that people will like live service games. My fear is that they will try to force live service games as being all we have, because they think they can make more money that way. These are not people with any sense of artistic, there's no artistry within them that are making these kind of thought processes. I consider myself an artist, not just for my YouTube stuff, but just in life. I'm an artist. I'm a poet. I'm a music lover and terrible fucking bass player, but that's besides the point. I'm a lyricist. I'm a really bad artist, like sketching. But I consider myself an artist. I have an artistic soul to me. I want to express myself in artistic ways. Try to find ways to do that. This is just one of them. But do people making the decisions just to keep going with live service games and milk every last freaking dollar out of everybody really have any artistic vision within themselves at all? Or do they just have greed and dollar signs?
Last minute to making them extraction looter shooters and things like that. Well, that would directly impact many of these studios that have incredibly creative and somewhat dangerous ideas of things that they want to try to make for a game, which means we'll see even less innovation as a result. Yeah. Because many of the studios are just going to be trying to make the same game as everybody else, but just a better version of it because they know that that platform is going to pay, or a
better version of a looter shooter. They're going to be like, what's hot right now? Hey, Barbie, that Barbie movie was really hot. Let's put out a Barbie looter shooter. Yeah. What's hot right now? I don't know, like, whatever. I'm like, oh, yeah. Porsche 911's really, really hot. So we're going to put out a looter shooter where everybody drives around a Porsche 911s. It's the ludicrous of these people are morally bankrupt and do not understand what people want at all. They are just trying to latch on to anything that's popular and milk you out of every last penny by incorporating that into what they know works. I don't want that kind of future either, Legendary. I do not.
Allow them to have their game on their subscription service. And that's not good. That's not good for anybody. That's not good for the studios. And that's definitely not good for us because we get a less enjoyable result.
Yeah.
We get less games, worse games, and less interesting games as a result of all of that. Now, the other thing is that he kind of brings this up. He doesn't really say it out loud, but this is the feeling that I get, and this is the future that I would see. And it's that if subscription services became the dominant platform, what would happen as a result is it would also mean that there would be a significant level of corruption within the industry as well. Because
How so?
you could have a game that's so well worth it, and you're going to put this time and money into it, and you want to this investment, and obviously you want to pay your workers and keep your team and all of that stuff. But these companies are going to go, well, yeah, we'll put you on, I don't know, Game Pass as an example. But we're going to need to take 40%. We're going to need to take 50%. Or maybe you're going to need to
Bethesda, we're going to need to take 70% off of every mod you sell.
bribe somebody that's on the board that actually approves for your game to even be on the service to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so beyond realistic that even me saying it out loud, I know that's exactly where the future for games would go.
Yep.
And that doesn't
But it's
mean that
money.
we get better games. No, that means we get devs that are paid even less than they already are in some cases.
Yep.
I mean, some of these games that we get are just absolutely phenomenal. And could you imagine, those people getting even less money for it? With how much money many of these studios already spent to begin with? With how many people already end up losing their jobs? Or with how many studios have layoffs or whatever it might be? And I've realized that a lot of that stuff has to do with a bunch of other different things in the industry as well. But
yeah,
all of this would affect the overall quality of our games going down the road. Every single step of the way. And it is incredibly important.
Do you agree?
And I thank Sven Vinke for this specifically, because it just gives me another reason to support this game, to support that studio, and continue to look forward to buying their products in the first place.
Yeah,
because
wait to see
that
what
is
they do
the
next.
only way that we can stop a future from like this from ever coming to be a thing to begin with. Is by continuing to buy our games and support these studios. And I realize that there's people that don't want to buy games, or there's people that can't afford to buy
It's coming to fruition, Legendary. It's bringing forth fruit.
games, and I understand. That's cool. And I do think that subscription services are a great entry-level way for many people to be able to get to
gaming.
Accessibility reasons.
Yep.
People can't afford it. Game Pass, things like that end up being great as a result. But I just want to make sure that everybody keeps in mind that the convenience and the cheapness of these subscription services are not for your benefit.
True.
They're for theirs. That's all I wanted to talk about today.
So you think the games are cheap or whatever, the games aren't that expensive because you're only paying so much to get all these games. What's happening is they're skimming it off of the game developers, though. They're taking so much money off of that and only paying them pennies on the dollar or whatever, so that company is still making shitloads of money, because that's always what it's about. They're trying to give you a service, which is only actually what they want to give you, and they're screwing over the developers, is what they're doing. That's not cool. Everybody, this is what Legendary Drops has to say about this stuff, and I tend to agree with them. I agree with them on a lot of things. Probably about 95% of what I hear that he says, I agree with him. I think the man's kind of brilliant about things. I really do encourage you to check out his stuff. And let me just show you something really quick. I don't usually do this, but we'll go to my videos on my channel. And we're going to go all the way down. All the way down. In my very, very first video, I like to point out to you, and I'd like to encourage you to go check it out. It's only had 21 views. It's been out 4 months. It's called Zoria Age of Shattering Update. Zoria Age of Shattering is a RPG game, top-down RPG, being made by a small company over in Romania. It looks great. I've talked to the devs myself many times. I enjoy speaking with them. I think it's going to be a great game. It was at one point scheduled to come out, I believe, last November. Actually, it says September, and they pushed it back because they knew it was not ready. November was when they were hoped to get it out, and then I think they pushed it back again to undetermined. And a lot of that was because when Baldur's Gate came out, I think Baldur's Gate 3, I think they looked at it and said, wow, we need to do a little better. And they're a small company. I don't know if they're never going to approach Baldur's Gate 3 territory, but I think they knew they had to do better. I think they also knew that there was more bugs and stuff they had to fix. And they are a really great company. I can't remember the name of the company right now. Forgive me. for receiving feedback from people who played their demos. They put out 2 separate demos now. And just people talking to them about what they want in the game and stuff. Very, very good for getting back to you and respecting your opinions, having great conversations with those guys. I remember talking to them about Romanian cinema, and horror movies filmed in Romania, which was funny because I'm much older than they are, and I think they're in the 20s, and they didn't know some of the stuff I knew. But it was interesting. Anyways, I'd encourage you to go check out this video. It's not that long. Go see what you think of Zoria Age of Shattering, and maybe you might be interested in wish listing it on Steam and checking it out when it comes out. That's me supporting the small developers right there. Just letting you know, I actually do that, and when I find more of those things that I'm going to get behind, I will gladly show them off on this channel. So everybody, I want to thank you all so much. Thank you, Legendary, and we'll catch you all next time. For Miss Valley Entertainment News, my name is Dread. Ta-ta. Glad to be back, everybody. Glad to be back.